A huge update just dropped for Project Zomboid with build 42.4, and there is a lot to go through. So I'm going to highlight some of the more important things that you'll want to know about. Like, did you know that hitting subscribe is a great idea and greatly appreciated? Alright, starting off with the new stuff. They have added research progression for metal armor, new sounds for resting on chairs, old-fashioned generator and woodlog gates. They have added specific sprint to aim animations for different weapon types, along with transition animations for sprint stops. They have also added 2 new biomes depending on if close to a lake or river. They've added an extended placement UI, and now right mouse click on a 3D item on the ground to move it precisely. Now onto some stuff that controller players will enjoy. The build window and handcraft window are now usable with a controller. To navigate between the different panes in these windows, press and hold the right shoulder button and use the D-pad. They also added controller support for a bunch of things such as crafting station UI, fluid transfers and more. The D-pad up radial menu displays the animal radial menu with pet, pickup, etc. And the D-pad right radial menu displays the designated zones option. They added controller support to the flyer newspaper windows. And finally, animal designated zones can be created with the D-pad. Alright, so chicken coops now have a tabbed window separating the egg laying nests from the roosts. The animal info windows allow renaming. They also added UIs for butcher hook and livestock trailers. They added tracking of carbohydrates, lipids and proteins to the body window in general debuggers option. They also added scalable sidebar icons, which is a welcome change. They added vehicle sound alarm script property to allow a different sound for car alarms than the horn. If the alarm sound isn't specified, the horn sound is used, if any. So we're going to get custom car alarms for each different vehicle, which is cool. They added new chicken Foley sounds. They also added fluid container meta entity system, so rain collectors will be filled with water when player is away. Now onto the big one, the reason you will click this video. They added raccoons. Though currently there are issues with their fence climbing, but who cares, I'm just glad they're here. In the last monthly mod video, I did show a raccoon mod, and I was not expecting them to come this fast, but I'm glad they did. They also updated the raccoon body texture. There was a large localization update for all languages, added 5 new flyers, and they made a bunch of changes to the Lua debugger. Now Lua is a word that I'd never said out loud before. So in the last video, I called it Alua. Thankfully, the comments corrected me, so hopefully I'm saying it right now. Lua. Alright, animals now recognize rivers. If the zone includes some water tiles, lake or river, it will be shown in the zone UI. Animals will try to drink from the river they can access before anything else. They also changed some behavior to eat grass. Animal will now look around him instead of purely under his feet. They also made other changes to try and make their behavior more consistent and smart. They updated a couple of rifle aim animations, and they added a play music when paused audio option. Alright, that's the end of the new edition section. Of course there's a bunch more if you want to go check it out yourself, but now I'm moving on to the balance section, the longest one of them all. But don't worry, I've cut it down. They added the missing recipe to forge a spade head, and added missing craft recipe for making nailed broken planks. They rebalanced table leg weapons, and now chopping logs and large branches into firewood will produce splinters. This is so chopping firewood always produces a tender item. They added the following items and craft recipes: improvised screwdriver, firewood, firewood bundle, and firewood with nails. Now that's a good one for some wilderness survival. So is this. Firewood burns for longer than other wooden items by weight. By chopping logs and large branches into firewood, you increase the length of time that they can be used for as fuel for campfires, etc. Firewood and firewood bundles were added to some loot and story clutter tables. Reading through this now, I feel like a lot of these should have went in the new edition section and not the balance section. But what do I know? They updated the melt sand and melt glass recipes to need a lighter or other way to start the fire. The make screwdriver craft recipe can be learned from melee weapon schematics and the Escaping Captivity recipe magazine. They added a craft recipe to carve wooden goblets. They reorganized the carving craft recipe file to order recipes by skill level requirements. And they did the same for the welding and knapping recipes. They added a craft recipe for sewing a leather tool roll. Plus they added a crafted baseball bat item and the craft recipe to make it. It requires carving level 9 and has to be learned, but also you can research it from wooden baseball bats, large branches and short bats. Increased campfire capacity to allow use of buckets for water purification/cooking. They made a modification to the recipe research system to account for traits. Characters with the fast learner trait can research recipes one level lower. Characters with the slow learner trait need one additional level to research recipes. In these cases, the level requirement will not go below 1 or above 10. That's a nice little change, I like that. Makes fast learner even better, and I do like to take fast learner, to be honest. The looted and trashed buildings should have more broken and open doors and more broken windows to better signpost their status as looted and trashed. There's actually a whole bunch of changes to the trash buildings, from corpses and trash spawning to basements being less trashed than the upper levels. They added recipe research progression for several tool category items. Iron and steel bars, bar halves, rods and rod halves will break into halves when they break, like many other melee weapons, so you can get more use out of the bars once they break. They halved the time required for the recipe research action, and also having a magnifying glass or loop in either hand will further slightly reduce item research time. That's a cool one. I'll be honest, I'll probably forget about that unless someone reminds me in chat one day. But I like the idea, it gives a use to magnifying glasses. A player's relevant highest skill level can reduce how long craft recipes can take to perform. For every level the highest skill level is higher than the highest recipe skill requirement, the time required to perform the craft recipe will be reduced by 5%. Alright, that was kind of a mouthful. Maybe it's my small brain not comprehending that, but I think what that is saying is, let's say you're at carpentry level 8, and let's say you're going to craft a little chair which has a recipe skill requirement of carpentry 3. That would mean you're 5 levels higher, and at 5% per level, you would craft it 25% faster. Now I think that's right. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that's right. Anyway, they rebalanced the weapons that can be produced by welding. Generally, strong reductions in durability, and lesser reductions in damage and criticals. The intent of these weapons is to be crappier crude versions of the properly crafted weapons. Under ideal circumstances, a skilled blacksmith would produce properly crafted real weapons instead of the crude welded weapons. They made some minor tweaks / simplifications / consistencying to some napping recipes. They rebalanced several cudgel type weapons in regards to their damage and criticals, along with some minor rebalancing of mace and morningstar type weapons. They also rebalanced the skill level requirements of several improvised weapon recipes involving carpentry or maintenance. This is to make the weapon recipes less bottom heavy, skill level requirement wise, with a more drawn out progression and providing more room for blacksmithing to be a superior option, assuming materials on workstations. So it seems like with all of these changes, they're pushing for blacksmithing to be more late game and sought after as the true standout option for weapon crafting, which does make sense of course. They added coffee to the items that can spawn as kitchen countertop clutter. Big coffee drinker over here, just addicted to the caffeine, man. The baseball trait teaches the carved baseball bat recipe. Allow players to use liquids from different containers in craft recipes. Added the item and recipe for a flint saw and flint scraper. Saws and crude saws can be used to make log furniture, in addition to axes that can chop down trees. They added the item and recipe for a twig broom. Added animal skeletons with no heads. They balanced butchering meat given. Now, as you may see in the title, they have added new traits. They added the trait Mason, which provides 2 levels in the masonry skill. Characters with the Mason trait know several workstation building recipes that involve bricks or stone and concrete. So I saw a guy on Reddit recently building like a castle, which was sick, and it seems this trait is perfect for that. They adjusted the masonry skill bonus provided by the construction worker profession from +3 to +2. The masonry craft recipe for making stones and large stones provides more XP. They added stone masonry recipes for making stone maul and large axe heads using a club hammer and masonry chisel. These have a much higher skill level requirement than the napping versions and also don't need to be learned. This is to provide some high level options for the stone masonry skill. These craft recipes should eventually require a suitable workstation, such as using a flat boulder versus being any surface craft. They changed how the learned recipe / granted XP messages are presented to the player. Although there is no control available over the duration of the message, the formatting has been changed to hopefully be easier and faster to read. Alright, I don't know anything really about game dev, but I don't know why they have no control over the duration of the message. Like, it's their game. Anyone know? Let me know, maybe? Boosted the durability of the spears made using proper forged spearheads. That's a nice one, I like that. Spears break way too fast, man, so some longer lasting, good old spears will be nice. Extended rain fluid dilution mechanics to dilute all fluid types / work on barrels. They added another new trait, Inventive, which provides a benefit with learning recipes from items or the auto-learn mechanic by reducing the required level. It still needs an icon. And they added another trait, Artisan, which provides +1 to pottery and glassmaking. It also still needs an icon. They added a craft recipe to saw wooden baseball bats and nail spike baseball bats into short bats, which will also reset their condition if damaged. Wait, so does that mean you find a baseball bat, you use it till it's very low condition, whack some nails in there, the condition shoots straight back up, you use that till it's low condition again, you saw that into a short bat, and it resets the condition once more, so you're getting 3 weapons out of 1 baseball bat, is that right? Anyway, now, filleting fish provides butchering XP and not cooking XP, and they balanced butchering further. And that's all they said, so I'm not sure what that entails, but I guess we'll see. They also added a rotting stage for animals. Currently they only have a bloodied skeleton, but rotten corpse before skeleton is coming. And now, ammo straps, double holsters, and crafted hide holsters can be cut up for a leather strip and buckle alongside belts. The durability of stone, bone, and simple, crude metal spears was boosted. These all compromise proper spears, and as such are being slightly de-nerfed. They rebalanced animal bone club type weapons. Alright, they added craft recipes for a bunch of stuff, all pretty similar, so I'm going to try rattle through it real quick. They added craft recipes for processing copper, gold, and silver scrap sheets and bars, for forging goblets and metal cups, for forging copper kettles and saucepans, for processing copper items into copper scrap. Copper scrap can be made into copper sheets to craft copper items, for forging gold and silver spoons, butter knives and forks, for forging the jawbone morning style weapon, and for producing gold and silver scrap by processing gold and silver jewellery. And with this, players should be able to generate blacksmithing XP by producing gold and silver tableware, goblets, cups and masks by scrapping gold and silver jewellery and producing gold and silver sheets from the scrap. Alright, I'm out of breath, so give me just 1 second. Alright, real quick break. It's pancake day right now, so I need to indulge a little bit. Alright, pancakes devoured, let's get back to it. They added a recipe for rendering metal baseball bat type weapons into aluminium scrap. Aluminium scrap can be used for the scrap sheet metal weapon recipes. Aluminium scrap can further be rendered into aluminium fragments, which alongside aluminium foil can be used for some bomb and radio recipes. Or as you Americans would say, aluminum. I mean, it's got an I right there, man, you see? Aluminium. Iron and steel scrap can be rendered into iron and steel pieces and can be forged into chunks or bar quarters, and they adjusted how the yields work for scrapping vehicles. A more useful spread of crafting materials should be produced. And for the final bit of scrap and forgery, they have adjusted the weight of some metal scrap items for better consistency with crafting. They have rebalanced nutrition values for alcoholic beverages, and opening canned food with a knife or sharp stone is now any surface craft and not in-hand craft. This is to make it less likely for players to unintentionally select this option when opening cans. Additionally, with right-clicking, you cannot both select the can and knife, and you can break a knife or your hand performing this craft recipe. You should use a surface when stabbing a can open anyways. Yeah, makes sense. You wouldn't want to do that on your lap. Based on community feedback, they mildly nerfed short bat class weapons. Their minimum damage value was reduced by 0.1, which means that damage before additional calculations will be 0.05 less on average. Fair enough, seems pretty minimal. But this doesn't affect spike clubs and maces, both of which are made from short bats. These are endgame blacksmithing weapons, and as such should be meta weapons. They added survival schematics. They are like other schematics, but teach wilderness and post-apocalypse type survival craft recipes. I like the sound of that, that's cool. Another cool one that makes sense is roadkill will now yield way less meat and of poor quality. They moved the dig furrow in the shovel sub context menu, Animals can now be added to graves. So let's say you've got a pet that you dearly love and one day unfortunately it drops dead. You can give it a proper burial. Although I mean you should probably eat it, just be resourceful, you know. Butchered meat numbers/value will be reduced with time passed since animal's death starts lowering at 12 hours. So you kill an animal, you're going to want to butcher it as fast as possible, because this meat can be rotten if the animal stayed dead for too long before butchering. Weapons that do not generate maintenance XP now have a tooltip warning the player as such. Sledgehammers can spawn as surface clutter in farm storage and garage room deaths. They updated some buildings on the in-game map. They raised unhappiness and drunkenness effects, so actions take 2 times longer to finish if you're at max Moodle level in one of them. So if you're absolutely blackout drunk, everything's going to take twice as long. And also if you're extremely severely depressed, you'll also take twice as long. There's a mild reduction in the chance/amount of armor and weapons that spawn on survivalist outfit zombies. Both bandit and survivalist outfit zombies will have good stuff, but they've been nudged to have slightly less good stuff. Some appropriate vehicle types have the possibility of spawning a sledgehammer as part of their trunk loot. Now I'm liking the sound of this. We've seen a few more new options for sledgehammer spawns. Maybe they won't be as rare, because I saw a Reddit post. Apparently a guy played for 500 hours and didn't find a single sledgehammer. And that's probably a lie, but if it's not, then that is one unlucky dude. Future Orp here, I just wanted to ask, what do you think about the idea of doing a monthly Reddit reaction video where I take a look at the most popular posts on the Zomboid Reddit and make a little video out of it? Is that something you'd want to see? Let me know down below. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. And the last thing is slightly reduced old and cheap generator sound radius and volume. They are still louder than the good ones. Now moving on to the fixes section, which is very, very long, but it's all very technical, so I've really cut this one down. They fixed missing vehicle mechanic overlays for several vehicles, fixed interrupting of pour, fill, drink, empty, leaving a fully filled or empty bottle, fixed an issue where fluid transfers sometimes transform all fluids into water. They fixed being able to chop down infinite trees with stone axes. They fixed split screen players seeing container highlights for other players. Fixed thirst reaching negative values. They fixed players not being able to slice fish that can't fit in their inventories. They fixed the orange LED light being missing from light switches when house is powered by a generator. Fixed being unable to smelt broken items. They fixed the voice pitch slider being non-functional. They fixed eggs never unfreezing when frozen. Fixed some clay tiles still counting as dirt. Fixed butchering animals from ground not producing blood on your character. They fixed coughing making animals stressed and running. Fixed the Spiffo mug not filling with rain. Fixed pain being capped at 1 when it should be 100. Pain is back. Now honestly, I didn't actually notice that pain wasn't really affecting me, but damn, pain's back. Fixed some instances of Zeds sometimes getting stuck in bite animation when shot from a distance. Fixed some missing crafting for raccoon leather. Fixed being unable to right click on squares adjacent to water. Oh, raccoons actually, real quick. I hope you can make them sick little raccoon hats. I don't know what they're called, but they're cool. And the final one is fixed character curling up when shooting at sitting Zeds with M16. Alright, we're almost at the end now. There is 2 big sections, but I've cut these down massively. Starting off with foraging, where they added new zones for improved player experience, general foraging fixes and new forage definitions. They added support for mixed forage zone handling. Loot tables can be generated for mixed zones by specifying the zones they contain. They added very high chances for mushrooms and firewood to be found in organic/birch to differentiate them from regular forests a tad. And they added a chance to find stones where it seemed appropriate in new zones based on the existing entries. They increased the chances of finding trash items in several biomes. They added sprite affinities for boulders and stone-like deposits to add a small chance of finding a rock category item nearby. They also added a slightly higher chance to forage clay during and after rain. They also added a very slightly higher chance to find flint for a while after it has rained. And finally, they added many new items to foraging tables, this time focusing on missing wild plants, herbs, insects, and most seed-bearing plants. Real quick before the final section, there was rumours that this update would destroy your saves, which was true during testing. I had a world that got bricked during the testing phase, but now it's officially out. It seems they've fixed it so you can continue playing on your world which I'm very happy about because I'm doing 100 days in Louisville. If you want to watch it, it's on my second channel and it started off great, so I'm excited to continue it. And they finished off with a big section for technical changes, but I don't have the brain cells to comprehend all of this, so if you're interested, make sure you go check it out. And with that is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you made it this far, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one, and peace.